We begin today the Gemara on Daf Gimel Amud Beis, towards the bottom of the Amud, 5 lines up from the bottom of the Amud, where it says Ela Asya. This Gemara is continuing from the halacha that it said before, Rab Chia. Rab Chia said a halacha that just like there's a din of Meida b'miktsas, when a person admits to half of a claim, denies the other half of the claim, so he has to swear on the part that he denies. This is the shua of Meida b'miktsas. Similar, Rab Chia says, if Eidim testify that he owes half of the money, then he also has to swear on the half that he denies. And Rab Chia says that this is learnt with a Kal v'chomer. So the Gemara here is discussing what exactly is that Kal v'chomer. The Gemara tried to say that the Kal v'chomer is from Haidas Piv. If the Torah says that a Meida b'miktsas has to make a shvua, so Eidim are stronger than Meida b'miktsas. So if Eidim testify that he owes half, for sure he should have to make a shvua. The Gemara went through a whole discussion here, and the conclusion of the Gemara was that this is not a good Kal v'chomer, because we actually find that a Das Piv is stronger than Eidim. Why? So the Gemara brought, because by Das Piv, Einoi b'hakchasha b'azama. If a person is Meida, and then Eidim come and contradict him, or Eidim come and are mazim his Haidas Baldin, it doesn't matter. He still has to pay. By Eidim, though, there's Akchashav Azama. When Eidim testify, they can be contradicted. You can be mazim the Eidim. So we see that when a person is Meida with his own mouth, there's a stronger power to that. So I can't have any Kal v'chomer from the fact that by Meida, with your mouth, there's a din of Shvuah, that for sure there should be by Eidim. Haidas Piv is actually a stronger power to be believed, to be mechayiv you, than Eidim are. So therefore now the Gemara will try another source to explain what was the Kal v'chomer that Rab Chia said, that we learn from there that when Eidim testify that he owes half, that there's a shvuah of Meida b'miktsas. Says the Gemara, Ela rada asya me'eid echad. We can learn out the halacha of Rab Chia from the fact that an eid echad that testifies against you, you will have to swear. And the Kal v'chomer is as follows. If when it comes to an eid echad, when he testifies against you, you don't have to pay. But you will have to swear against the eid echad to pati yourself. Rashi brings the pasuk. It says regarding eid echad, that the words of an eid echad will not obligate you to pay, but l'shvua come. But regarding the shvua, you will have to swear. So that's what we find by an eid echad. If so, Eidim that are stronger than Eid Echad, where I see that you have to pay money by an Eid Echad when they testify against you, definitely the words of the Eid Echad should obligate you to make a Shvuah. So that's the source for this halacha of Rab Chia. We're learning it with a Kal v'chomer, not from the Haidah when a person is made with his mouth, but from Eid Echad. The Gemara asks on this limit as well, but Male Eid Echad. Eid Echad is different. When the Eid Echad testifies against you, what are you swearing about? You're swearing on that money that he testifies against you that you owe, that you have to swear against and contradict the words of the Eid Echad regarding that actual money that the Eid Echad actually spoke about. Toimar, going back to the Dalet Amud Aleph, Toimar be'edim shamash kafar unishpa. On the other hand, over here, what we're trying to learn out regarding Eidim is that you should swear on this that you're denying, not on this that the Eidim are testifying. The Eidim are coming and testifying that the person owes $50. Those $50 he's not paying. He's not swearing, that is. That he actually has to pay. But over here, the other $50 that he's denying, it's this that we're trying to get a source for, that he's going to have to make a shvuah on this. You don't have any source for that from Eid Echad. By Eid Echad, he swears on this that Eid Echad clearly said that he's chayiv. Over here, the Eidim are saying that he's chayiv one half, and we want to say that he should be chayiv a shvuah on the other half, similar to the concept of Meida b'miktsas. So we don't have a source for that from the kind of shvuah that you find by Eid Echad. Therefore, Rav Papa says we actually could learn from Eid Echad, but we have to add another detail here. Asi migilgul shvuah de Eid Echad. We learn out this shvuah of Eidim, where you swear not on what the Eidim are saying, but on the other half that you deny. You can learn it from Gilgul Shvuah Deid Echad. What's the halach of Gilgul Shvuah Deid Echad? So Rashi explains, when Eid Echad testifies against a person and he has to swear, so now you can roll over that Shvuah to other matters as well. If the Teveya wants you to swear about other subjects or other monies that he claims that you owe him, you'll have to swear about that too. So what you see over here is that by Eid Echad, it obligates you to swear not only on what the Eid Echad is testifying, but even on other matters which Eid Echad did not testify about. And therefore we could learn out as follows. That the same applies by Eidim as well. When they testify that you owe half, and you deny the other half, you have to now swear on the other half. So we could learn out this halacha from Eid Echad. Says the Gemara, but no, there's still a reason why we can't compare it to this din of Gilgul Shvuah by the Eid Echad. Why? Mal Gilgul Shvuah Eid Echad. In the case of when you roll over the Shvuah, when the Eid Echad testifies about one thing, and he's swearing about that, and then he also has to swear about other things. Shekain Shvuah Gerera Shvuah. Over there, the reason you swear on other matters that the Eid Echad did not testify about, it's not because of the words of the Eid Echad himself. It's not that the power of the words of the Eid Echad is what's causing you to be chayav a shvuah on something that the Eid Echad did not speak about. No, it's halacha regarding the shvuah itself. Once you're swearing on one subject, that shvuah drags along a chayav to swear on something else. But it doesn't show you anything about the Eid Echad himself that he could obligate you to swear on something that he did not testify about. However, over here regarding Eidim, the moment kamachayvi. Over here, the Eidim, they testify that you owe half of this money that is being claimed from you, and on that half you're actually paying. There is no shvuah on that half. So you have no source to say that on the other half that you're denying, you should have to swear. There is no shvuah that's here already that should drag, that you should be chayiv to swear on the other part that the Eidim are not speaking about. By the Eid Echad, you have that one shvuah that you're already swearing because of the words of the Eid Echad, then drags along. This is what you learn out. Rashi brings here from what it says by the Saita of Amra Isha Amen Amen, that one shvuah drags along a chiyuv to swear another shvuah. But by Eidim, you don't have that. On what the Eidim testify, you pay money. And so who says that on the other part that you deny, you would have to make a shvuah? Says the Gemara, so we now have a problem with the limud from Eid Echad, or even from the Gilgul Shvuah of the Eid Echad. So let's go back to what we tried before to learn out from Hidas Piv. If a person makes a Shvuah of Meida B'Miktas when he's Meida with his mouth, we could learn from there that the same applies if Eidim testify on half that you owe it. So says the Gemara, Piv Yechiach. Let's prove from the case of when a person is Meida with his mouth that you have to make a Shvuah. But again, we ask on that, as the Gemara explained before already on Gimel Amud Beis. Malapiv, you can't learn out that Eidim should obligate you to swear from this, that when you're Meida, you have to swear. Shekain Eina Bak, because when it comes to the mouth of a person being Meida, it's stronger than Eidim. There's no contradiction against it. Even if Eidim contradict you, you're still chayiv. So you can't learn Eidim from there, since by Eidim, there is Akhasha, so it's not as strong as Piv. So we go back to the limit over here. Eid Echad Yichiach. So we have to learn out from the case that we just said, Eid Echad. And according to some Rishonim, the Gemara now is not learning from Gilgul Shvuah of Eid Echad, but it's actually learning from Eid Echad, as it started off with. Sheyeshne B'Choshe. Eid Echad, similar to Eidim, if they're contradicted, so then it nullifies the words of this Eid, just like it is by Eidim. U'Mechayev Shvuah. And you're obligated to swear. So we can learn from there that if Eid Echad is Mechayev Shvuah, for sure, Eidim would be Mechayev a person a Shvuah. But again, we have the question on the limud from Eid, as the Gemara said before, Mal Eid Echad sheken al ma shemeid nishpa. By the Eid, you're swearing regarding something that the Eid actually said. The Eid says you're chayiv, you say you're pata. It's on that you swear. But over here, we're looking for a source to say that you swear not on what the Eidim said you're chayiv, that you pay. We're looking for a source to say that you swear on the other half that you deny. So we don't have a source from Eid Echad for that. So we go back to Piv Yechiach. So then we have to go back to the source from when a person is Meida with his mouth. And here we have these two sources, Hidas Piv and Eid Echad. So together this is a Tzad Hashava. V'chazar Adin. We try to learn out from one, and we have a refutation. We go back to the other. Each one has a reason why I can't learn out from there. And we say as follows: the particular chumrah that I find by Hidas Piv, and therefore I can't learn Eidim from there, and the particular chumrah that I find regarding Eid Echad, and therefore I can't learn Eidim from there, are not the same thing, and therefore I have to look at the common denominator. What is the reason why you swear by both Hidas Piv and by Eid Echad? You can't say that it's the individual reason that I find by each one of them, because it's different. The reason here is not the same as the reason here. And they both have the same din. Eid Echad is mechayev you to swear, and Hidas Piv is mechayev you to swear. There has to be some common denominator which is equal by both of them, which is the reason for the shvuah. And what is that common denominator? That both by Eid Echad and by the case of when a person is Meida B'Miktas, there is a claim, and there's a denial, and v'nishba, and you have to swear on this. So too regarding a case where there's a taina and there's a kfira, and then there's also edim here that say that you all have shall yidei taina kfira heim boin. It's because of a taina and a kfira that there was a claim, and then you denied it. That's why they're in Bezdin here, v'nishba, and you swear on this. So we can compare the din of edim and learn it out from the tzad hashava that I find by both of them, that I find by Eid Echad and by Hidas Piv. Taisus adds to this that simply you can ask and say that by Kaifer Akel, person that denies the entire claim, over there's also a taina and a kfira, and yet the halach of Kaifer Akel is that minat Torah you put it from a shvua. So how could the Gemara say that any time there's a taina and kfira you chayiv in a shvua? Says Taisus, the answer is, and by all three of these, there's another detail here. There's something that tells us even more than just a taina and kfira, that this person should be chayiv to pay. In all these cases, you have something working against him. Either the eidecha that's testifying against him, or the fact that you have his own haidah, that he was made in part of it. That already is an indication that this person is chayiv, based on what the Gemara explained before on Daf Gimel, that only when a person is kaifer akoil, because the person wouldn't have the chutzpah to be kaifer, that shows that he's totally potter. Not when he's made b'miktzas. Over here, it seems like he's trying to avoid the payment. And similar when you have Edim that testify against him and say that half of his denial is a lie. So it's a taina and kfira, and also it looks like this person is lying, and therefore that's the common denominator that in all these cases you swear. And this was the kavachayma. This is the limud, really at tzad hashava, that Abchia said that when Edim testify in half that you owe it, that you have to pay. But the Gemara asks on this limud, I can ask you, you're learning out from Eid Echad and Haidas Piv together, but there's something that's unique about them both, the common denominator by both of them. Shekain loihuchsa kafrin. By both of them, this person wasn't caught as a clear, straight out liar. So maybe that's why he can swear, he'll be chayiv to swear in those cases to back up his claim that he's potter. However, when it comes to a case where a person was caught by Edim, that when he denied, and now Edim say no, we know for a fact that you have that this person now has been established to be a liar. So how can we obligate him to swear? So how are we learning out from there that in this case, by Edim, you swear? So the Gemara says this is not necessarily true. And regarding a case when Edim testify against a person that his entire denial is not true and part of it he does owe, is that hochsa kafrin? Does that mean that he's been established to be a liar? But Ravidi Barav said in the name of Rav Chisda, HaKaifer b'milveh, a person that denies a loan that he owes and he's caught to have lied, kosher leidus. He's still kosher leidus. We don't consider him to be a liar. And the reason is because a loan, when a person borrows money, it's made to spend, and it could be that he didn't have the money available to pay, and he's only denying it because he wants to delay the payment. But it doesn't mean that he's a person that's a thief and a liar. However, if a person denies a pekadin, a deposit that he has, that he's keeping for someone, and he denies he doesn't have it, and it turns out that he's keeping it for himself, that's pasaledis. Because over here it's clear that he's a thief and a liar. There should be no reason why he should deny this otherwise. So therefore, the tzad hashava we learned out from Hidas Piv and Eid Echad. That's a source to say that in this case also, when Edim say that he owes half, that there's a shvuah, is still a good limud. But the Gemara asks another question. But ella parachachi. However, no, you could still ask on the tzad hashava as follows: Mal tzad hashava sheben. When you look at both Hidas Piv and Eid Echad, shekein einon b'toiras hazameh. They don't have the entire halacha of Edim Zaymimin. When a person is made with his own mouth, as the Gemara already brought before, there's no din of Edim Zaymimin at all. Doesn't matter what other Edim say about this. This person is either way going to be chayiv to pay. And by Eid Echad, there is a din by Eid Echad that if Edim come and say, Imanu Hayisa, this individual was with us in a different place, it does passel this Eid Echad, but you don't have the entire Taira of Azamah that applies here. What's the whole Taira of Azamah? The punishment. The punishment of Kashazamam, that does not apply by an Eid Echad. So both Haidas Piv, when a person's made it with his mouth, and Eid Echad, the Taira, which is the punishment of Kashazamam, does not apply by them. It doesn't have that stringency. However, when it comes to Edim, there is a Torah of Hazama. We see over here that the Torah says not only could you nullify the words of Edim, but they're going to actually be so nullified to the point that he's going to have to pay for this, that the kashazamam, the einish of kashazamam, and the fact that he has to pay kashazamam, so that shows that the words of Eidim are not as powerful. Once you nullify it, it falls apart. And not only that, there's the einish of kashazamam. Whereas by Eid Echad and by Hadas Piv, over there, at least by Eid Echad, you could nullify the words of Eid Echad, but not to the point that you'll obligate him with the einish of kashazamam. So therefore, the Gemara says, we have a via pircha on this Tzad Shava. Says the Gemara says this is not a pircha. Holei kashya, this is not a question. Rab Chia Teiras Hazalme Loi Parech. According to Rab Chia, this question, he doesn't consider this to be a refutation to the Tzad HaShaveh. And Rashi explains the reason is the punishment of kashazamam is a side point. The fact that the Torah says that only by two Eidim, when they become Eidim Zaymimin, there's a punishment of Kashazamam, and not by an Eid Echad, that's not an indication regarding the weakness of two Eidim in contrast to one Eid. That's a separate thing regarding the punishment. But regarding the actual nullification of the word of the Eid through Hazameh, that's the same by an Eid Echad and by two Eidim. And therefore, they are the same in that sense, and you don't have a refutation here to this limud of the Tzad HaShaveh. Okay, so the Gemara's conclusion is that the din that Rab Chia said, the Kal V'Chomer, or as the Gemara concludes, it's a Tzad HaShaveh. We learn out this halacha that when Eidim testify that you owe half, that you have to swear now on the other half that you deny, we learn it from a Tzad HaShaveh, from Eid Echad and Hadas Piv together. Ella says the Gemara, if there's any question on what Rab Chia taught, the question is not on the din itself, the question is on the raya that Rab Chia brought from the Mishnah. The Ka'amar v'Tanatuna, this Rab Chia said that he has a source from our Mishnah. What was the source that Rab Chia said from our Mishnah? So the Gemara before explained the Daf Gimel, Rab Chia's source was that he said in the case of Shnai Meichsim B'Talis, each one is holding on to half of this talis, and each one claims Kula Shali. And the Mishnah says first they have to each swear that Enli Ba Pachas Mechetzia, and then after that we divide the talis between them. So the question is, what's the reason for the shvuah here? So Rab Chia tried to say that the shvuah here is a shvuah min ha-Torah. Why is it a shvuah min ha-Torah? Because when each one is holding on to the talis, that has a significance as if Eidim are testifying that half of the talis is this person's. Because holding on to it is a strong indication to us that it belongs to him. It's a nanan sadi that it belongs to him. So when you claim kula shali, so while you're claiming it's all yours, the other person is holding on to it, and there are Eidim that half of it belongs to him. And the Mishnah says you have to swear. Says Rab Chia, that's the source of this idea that when you deny something and you say it's totally yours, and meanwhile the other person has Eidim that half is his, you have to swear if you want to get half of it. That's the source for this halacha that by Hadas Eidim, when Eidim testify half, the other half you have to swear. That was the source of the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, it's on this source of the Mishnah that there's a very big question here. What's the question? Says the Gemara, second, find a place over here. Oh, so the Gemara says like this. Mi domi. How can you compare to what it says in our Mishnah regarding the case of Shnayim Eichsen? Hasam, in the case that Rab Chia was speaking about, Lamalve isle sadi, Lulayve lesle sadi. In the case of Rab Chia, so for example, if it was a loan, so there's a malve. The malve claims you owe me $1,000. And the Levik denies the whole entire thing. And the Malva brings Eidim, well, $500 you owe me. Half of it you owe me. So over here, the Malva has Eidim that he owes half. The Leva is denying the entire thing. So since the Leva has no support of any Eidim for his side, and the Malva is bringing Eidim that half of it he does owe, so in such a case, so it makes sense to say that he has to pay. Again, Hassan the Malva is Leisadi. The Malva is bringing Eidim that you do owe him half. The Leva less Leisadi, and the Leva does not have any Eidim for the other half that he's denying. In our Gemara here, the Girsa is the Leva less Leisadi, the Lemasek Leva Le Midi, that the Leva doesn't have any Eidim, that he didn't borrow anything. But from Rashi it seems that these words should be taken out, and the point there is that the Leva doesn't have any Eidim for his half. Not that the Leva doesn't have any Eidim that he didn't borrow anything. There are Eidim that he did borrow half. But there's no, the Leva though, on the other half that he still is denying, he doesn't have any Eidim to support that other half that he still is denying. The Avalei Sadi Leva the Lemasek Leva Le Midi, or again, you take out these words Lemasek Leva Le Midi, if the Leva would have Eidim for the half that he still is denying, so then Rab Chia would never say that you have to swear. Think about it. If you have a case where one person is saying you owe me $1,000 and he has Eidim that he owes $500. And the other person still denies the other $500, and he brings Eidim that he doesn't owe the $500. Of course, he doesn't have to swear on the other 500 that he denies now, because he has Eidim backing up his claim that he doesn't owe the 500. So if each party brings Eidim for their claim now, the Malva Eidim that he owes the 500, and the Leiva Eidim that what he still denies the 500, for sure there's no reason for anybody to swear here. The Leiva doesn't have to swear in this. He has Eidim to support what he's saying. So if so, in our Mishnah, going back to the Mishnah of Shnai Meichsen, this is exactly what the case over here is. Because over here, each one is claiming Kula Shali, and both of them are grabbing onto the talis. We consider this that both of them are grabbing onto the talis equivalent to two Eidim that are testifying that it belongs to the person grabbing onto it. But both of them are grabbing onto the talis. So each one has a supportive Eidim on his side. So here in the Mishnah, Bahai, or the Bach says Lahai, just like we have two Eidim, by the fact that he's grabbing onto the talis, it's equivalent to two Eidim that it belongs to the other person. Anan Sadi Lahai, we also have two Eidim for this person that's grabbing onto it to support what he says, that it belongs all to him. And still in the Mishnah it says that you have to swear. So the reason over here can't be because the other person has supportive Eidim for half of it against you. But you also have supportive Eidim for your side. So why are you still swearing in the Mishnah? We should just split the talis in half because each one has Eidim supporting his side. So it must be, as the Gemara already said before, on Daf Gimel Amar Aleph, that the Shvuah in our Mishnah is not a Shvuah min HaTorah, it's a Shvuah min Rabbanon, it's a Takana that Rabbi Yechanan said, people shouldn't just come and grab someone else's talis and then claim that the whole thing is yours. It's not a Shvuah min HaTorah, so there's no raya at all to the halacha that Rabbi Chia said. Okay, so the Gemara refutes this raya of Rabbi Chia from our Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Elo kiyit mevetanatuna idach Rabbi Chia. This that Rabbi Chia brought a raya from our Mishnah to a halacha that he taught was not regarding this halacha that he said that when Eidim testify on half, you have to swear, similar to Meideh b'miktsas. It was in a different halacha that Rabbi Chia taught regarding Meideh b'miktsas. Because the Itmer, the Amar Rabbi Chia, that is, Rabbi Chia said, Mana li biyotcha. Person claims a mana. And this person responds, I only owe you half. So far this person is a regular Meideh b'miktsas, you would have to make a shvuah. But then he adds right away, V'heilach, and here it is. You can go and take it, it's right here for you to go and take. Simple pshat of that is, Heilach sounds like he's saying here, he brings the other half of money that, the half of money that he admits, he brings that money straight into Bezdin, and he says, here, take it. Rashi actually, it sounds like says a little bit different. Rashi says that regarding the half of the money that he admits, he says, I never spent that half of the loan, and the money is available for you to take wherever it is. That's the type of Heilach in the words of Rashi. So in such a case, says Rabbi Chia, Chayiv, this is still a regular case of Meideh b'miktsas, and he has to make a shvuah. Now Rashi explains, what's the chiddush over here? Let's first see the words of the Gemara. My time, what's the reason why it's Chayiv? Heilach nami k'meideh b'miktsas atayna dami. When you admit half, and you immediately tell the person for that after you're admitting, here, the money is available for you to take right away, that still falls into the category of a Meideh b'miktsas. The svara here may have been that the half that you made and you pay right away, so that half is given already. And therefore now, it's the loan only consists of the other half, which you totally deny. So therefore it's not a Meideh b'miktsas anymore. When you don't have the money to pay here right away, so the loan is still seen as a loan of a moneh, and therefore half you deny, half you admit, that's a Meideh b'miktsas. But if the half that you admit you pay right away, or you say it's ready to pay right away, so then that's out of the picture. So now this turns into a kaifer akel basically, and you should be pater. This is one of the ways how some of the Achreinim explain according to Rashi. There are other Ifanim to explain why Heilach may have been different than Meideh b'miktsas, but this is one pshat according to Rashi. And on that, Rabbi Chia says, no, this is not the case. Even when you say Heilach, the shvuah of Meideh b'miktsas that the Torah obligates to swear applies in this case as well. This was the second halacha that Rabbi Chia taught about Meideh b'miktsas. And on this, Rabbi Chia says, V'tana tuna, we can bring a raya to this, that this is what the Tana taught in our Mishnah, Shnai meichsim b'talis, when the two people are grabbing onto the talis and each one claims kula shali, and the Mishnah says yachloiku, with a shvuah. Now, v'hahacha, so here in our Mishnah, and here the Gemara actually goes back to the same logic that it said before, that the shvuah in our Mishnah should be a shvuah of Meideh b'miktsas. Kiv in the toughest, each one of them is grabbing onto half of the talis. Anan sadi the mind the toughest, heiluchu. So what each one of them is grabbing onto it is equivalent to Eidim that testify that half is his. And now this is a case of heilach. When the other person is getting half, because Eidim say that half is his, it's in his hands. He has it to take right away. Not like a regular Maida B'Miktzas where you're Maida and you're not paying the money right now. Here, we consider the fact that the other person is holding on to it to be like Eidim, that it's his, and he has it. He has it in his hands. And still, Vikatani, the Mishnah says Yishava, that you have to swear. So we see over here, our Mishnah is a Shvuah that's based on, it's the Shvuah of Maida B'Miktzas, and it's also a case of Halach where the person has that half that the other person gets because of the Eidim that he has, because he's holding on to it is equivalent to Eidim, and on that half, you make a Shvuah even though it's in his hands. Okay, so Rashi here points out an obvious question that has to be addressed here in the Gemara. Didn't we just refute this whole idea that the Mishnah of Shnai Meichsen and the Shvuah here in the Mishnah is a Shvuah of Maida B'Miktzas? Didn't we say that the Shvuah in our Mishnah can't be related to Maida B'Miktzas because each one of them have Eidim to support their side? So, as much as the other person has Eidim for his side, you have Eidim for your side. How could you say you're swearing because he has Eidim, but you also have Eidim? That was the Gemara's question. So the Gemara is sort of ignoring that question right now. So Rashi says, right now when the Gemara brings this as a raya to the second Rab Chia, we're going back to what the Gemara thought in the beginning, that the Shvuah of the Mishnah actually is a Shvuah of Maida B'Miktzas. And the Rishayim explain that in the yeshiva, where the two halachas of Rab Chia were taught, there was a discussion regarding the first halacha of Rab Chia, and eventually they refuted the raya from a Mishnah that the Mishnah has nothing to do with Maida B'Miktzas. And then now the Gemara is bringing another discussion that there was regarding a second that Rab Chia taught, and they didn't hear this refutation that our Mishnah has nothing to do with Shvuah of Maida B'Miktzas, and therefore they're saying that you could learn from our Mishnah, if it is a Shvuah of Maida B'Miktzas, that it's also a Maida B'Miktzas, or actually it's not exactly Maida B'Miktzas, it's like Eidim, and it's Halach. It's also a din of Halach because whatever you're getting is in your hands right now. And still the Mishnah says that there's a Shvuah here. This is the Pshat according to Rashi. Taisa says a little bit of a different Pshat. Taisa says at this point the Gemara understands that in a Mishnah when each one grabs onto the talis, it's not equivalent to Eidim, but it is equivalent to being Maida. That you realize that half of it belongs to the other person. Taisa has a whole different way how to learn this Gemara. Okay, let's continue inside the Gemara. This is what Rab Chia taught. Maida B'Miktzas, and what you're being maida to, Halach, the other person has in his hands, there still is a Shvuah of Maida B'Miktzas. But Rav Sheshus Amar, however, Rav Sheshus argues and says, Halach Potter. When you admit, and the other person now has it available for him in his hands to take right away, for that, there's no Maida B'Miktzas, you Potter. As I explained before, it becomes like a Kol for a Kol. My time, Kivin Damale Halach, since he says, here it is, take it, Hani Zuzu the Kamaida B'Gavai, Command the Lokat Luhu Malvadami. This money that you were maida, it's like the Malva already has it in his hands. Now the other half you were not maida in, and for that you become a kaifer akil, and therefore there's no maida B'Miktzas, there's no shvuah on this. So the Gemara asks now, Rav Sheshus from the Mishnah. According to the way we understand now, Rav Chia brought a raya from a Mishnah. He considered our Mishnah to be a shvuah of maida B'Miktzas. Well, Rav Sheshes, not according to Rav Sheshes, Kashimas Nissen. How does he understand the Shvuah in our Mishnah, which is a Shvuah based on the Shvuah of Maida B'Miktzas, and it is a case of Halach, and you still make a Shvuah? Amalach Rav Sheshes will answer you, Mas Nissen, Takanas Chachamimi. The Shvuah of our Mishnah is not a Shvuah Min HaTorah, as we already explained before. It can't be a Shvuah Min HaTorah because as much as the other person has Eidim on half for him, there's Eidim that you have, you're grabbing onto it, equivalent to Eidim for your claim as well. So it can't be an Inyan of Maida B'Miktzas in our Mishnah, as the Gemara explained before already. So therefore it's a Takanas Chachamim, so there's no Raya B'chlal to the halacha of Maida B'Miktzas. That even by Halach, you'd be Chayav a Shvuah. V'hidach, now the other opinion, according to Rab Chia, yes, it's true, Takanas Chachamim. The Shvuah of our Mishnah is only a Takanas Chachamim. However, if you're going to say that Minat Torah, when there's a case of when you're Maida, you admit, and what you're admitting to the other person has in his hands. The Torah says that you're chayav to swear in such a case. The Chacham as well that institute to swear in such a kind of case, even though it's not a shvuah min Torah, it's only a shvuah min Rabbanon, but it's going to be a shvuah in this case where it's similar to the shvuah min Torah. In a case min Torah, when you have what is being admitted to in your hands, so the person still makes a shvuah, even though here it's only a shvuah min Rabbanon, but it's similar to the shvuah min Torah. But if you're going to say that in such a kind of case, where what you're admitting to the other person, he already has in his hands, and therefore you're going to be pater, so the Mesakni Rabbana Shvud, the less of the Chvasa by Raisa, would Chachamim institute that you would swear in a case where minat Torah, there's no shvua that we find that's similar in such a kind of case. Chachamim wouldn't institute a shvua if minat Torah we don't find a shvua in a similar case. So since the other person has already half in his hands, and you have already half in your hands, which we consider to be like Aiden, because you're holding on to it, but you have it in your hands, there should be no shvua here. We should just split it without any shvua. So therefore, it must be that there's a concept of a shvua even when what's being admitted to is in the other person's hands, which means even by halach there is a shvua. So therefore, over here, the Rabbanon instituted a shvua similar to what the shvua is minat Torah. That's the way Rab Chia learned it out from our Mishnah. And this is really, the Rishonim say, this is really what the kavanah of the Gemara was in the beginning. When the Gemara said, Eleki itmer v'tana tuna a'idoch de Rab Chia, ultimately, the Gemara understands that our Mishnah is not a shvua of Meideh b'miktzas, as it explains. However, the Gemara says Rab Chia still brought a raya to the second din that Rab Chia said, not to the first din, but to the second din of Rab Chia, that even though it's a shvua midrabanan, but we could learn from there that there would be a shvua minat Torah by halach, because otherwise, by a case where there's a shvua midrabanan and it's halach, the other person is holding it in his hands, Chachamim wouldn't institute a shvua. That's the raya here to what Rab Chia said. Okay, now the Gemara will discuss over here this machlekes of Rab Chia and Rav Sheshes regarding halach, whether you chayiv a shvua or not. And the Gemara asks on Rab Chia that says, by a case of meideh b'miktzas and it's halach, the other person has what you're admitting to in his hands, that you chayiv a shvua from the following brayse. Meisvei, so he asks what the brayse says. Slam dinrim. If you have a star, and in the star it's written that you owe this person slaim and dinrim, a plural term of either slaim or dinrim, but it doesn't say exactly how much. Malvay mechamish. The malva comes and claims that you borrowed from him 5 slaim or dinrim. V'leiva meshalish, and the leiva admits to only 3. Rav Shimon ben Elazar says about this case, Hoyel v'hoidem miktzas atayna. Since you admitted to a part, this is the regular meideh b'miktzas, yishava. So you have to swear on this a shvua minat Torah. Rabbi Akiva argues and says, no, ein ela k'meishav aveda. This kind of case, you're not chayiv in the shvua of meideh b'miktzas. It's just like you're returning a lost object. And the reason is because when the star says this plural term of slaim dinrim, what's the minimum of slaim dinrim? It's 2. So the star is basically saying that you owe 2. When you're made it to 3, you're made it to something more than, there's no reason for you to be made it to this. The star indicates that it's just 2. When you say 3, it's like you're giving back a lost object, and in such a case, you don't make a shvua on this. So now the Gemara says, let's ask a question from what it says here in this brayse on Rab Chia's opinion from what Rab Shimon ben Elazar said. Katani miyes, what did the brayse say? Rab Shimon ben Elazar said, Hoyel v'hoidem miktzas atayna, when he's made it to 3, so he was made to be miktzas, and therefore yeshava. He has to swear. Now, what do we see from here? The reason he has to swear is only because he was made it to 3. Hoshtayim. If he was only made it to 2, then potter. Then he would be potter from a shvua. Now, why would he be potter? What's the reason to make any distinction between him being made it to 3 or being made it to 2? Either way, he's a made of a miktzas. What's being claimed from him is 5, and he's being made it to 3 or 2. Why is there any difference? Now, the star that he's made in it, meaning if he's only being made to 2, then he's being made to the minimum, which is written in the words of the star, Slaim Dinrim. Heilachu. This is the equivalent of the case that Rab Chia and Rab Sheshes are arguing about. Heilach. Because when you're made in a star, that star is something which is right there available with the star to be able to collect the money. You're not just being made in money and then you walk off and you don't know if the malva will be able to collect the money or not. You're being made to what's written in a star, which gives the malva the ability to collect immediately. And therefore this is considered to be like Heilach. And what do we see from here? Rab Shimon ben Elazar made a distinction between being made in 3 or being made in 2. So from here we can learn out what's the reason for the distinction. Heilach pater, the reason is because when you're made in 3, you're being made in something that's not written in the star. Because the star just says slaim, plural, 2. You're being made in more than that, not what's written in the star. So there's a shua of meideh b'miktzas. But if you made in 2, that's the minimum, and that's what's written in the star, that's equivalent to Heilach. That's there available now for the malva to collect immediately, and therefore you're going to be potter from a shvua. Says the Gemara, no, that's not the pshat here. Really, I could tell you, Rab Shimon ben Elazar holds, it doesn't make a difference if you made it to 3 or you made it to 2. Either way, you would be chayiv in the shvua of meideh b'miktzas. Doesn't matter if it's Heilach. The fact that he's saying the case where you made it to 3, that's only because Lafukim de Rabbi Akiva. He wanted to argue with the point that Rabbi Akiva says. The Rabbi Akiva came to say, once you made it to 3, which is an amount that's not indicated in the minimum in the words of the shtar, so here there's no shvuah because he's just returning a lost object. He wanted to argue with Rabbi Akiva regarding that point. The Kamash Malon, the Maidav Miktas Atayna Hava V'Chayev. And Rav Shimon ben Elazar says that no, you still are a Maidav Miktas and you will be Chayev. But really, Rav Shimon ben Elazar holds whether you made it to 3, whether you made it to 2, either way you're a Maidav Miktas and you'll be Chayev. Like Rav Chia, because Rav Chia says Halach is Chayev, and even though being made it to 2 is equivalent to Halach, but you still will be Chayev. The Gemara asks on this, but it doesn't fit with the words of Rav Shimon ben Elazar. If so, Rav Shimon ben Elazar, why is Rav Shimon ben Elazar saying, now that you made it to 3, and now you're a Maidav Miktas, therefore you're Chayev? That's not what he should say. He should have said, Avze Yishava mi bayalei. He should have said that even in this case, you're also going to be Chayev. If what we said before is true, that according to Rav Shimon ben Elazar, whether you made it to 2, whether you made it to 3, either way you made it b'miktas and Chayev. He's just coming to add that also by 3 you're Chayev because he wants to argue with Rabbi Akiva and you're not a Meshav Aveda, so he should say the Lashon of Af. Sounds like Rav Shimon ben Elazar is coming to say only when you made it to 3, then you're a Maidav b'miktas. If you made it to 2, you're not a Maidav b'miktas. Why? Seemingly because it's Halach and therefore you're Potter. So that's still a question on Abchiyah. Says the Gemara, El Elaylim, you're right, Shtayim Potter. Yeah, we have to say that Rav Shimon ben Elazar holds only when you made it to 3, you'll be Chayev. If you made it to 2, then you'll be Potter. But the reason is not because it's Halach and therefore you're Potter. V'Halach, Chayev. In a case where you made it and you're immediately making it available for the person to collect, Halach, you'll still be Chayev. Shani Hacha, here the reason why when you made it to 2, you're going to be Potter is a different reason. Either because the Komisayeh Leishtara, you're being made to something which the shtar is saying like you're saying. So it's not just your Hidas Baldin. The shtar itself is saying like you're saying. So in such a case, there's no din of Hidas Baldin. Okay? And when the shtar itself is helping you out, the shtar is saying like your words, over here, there's no din of Hidas Baldin. There's no din of Moedah B'Miktsas. Inami, or another answer why when you made it to 2, there's no shvuah. Mishum dahavale shtar shibud kakais. When you're being made to something which is written clearly in the shtar, the minimum of slime, which is 2, written in the shtar, so then what's a shtar? A shtar is giving the malva the right to collect a lien on a piece of property, to collect it from the borrower. So being made in a shtar is being made to something that you owe that will be collected from your karka. Now the rule is the ein nishbain al kvira shebekarkais. The whole halacha of a shvuah of Moedah B'Miktsas does not apply when you swear, when you're admitting regarding something that you owe in karka. This is learned out from a pasuk, from a klal prat klal, that there's no concept of a shvuah regarding karka. So therefore over here, when you made it to 2, you put because you're being made it to something that you owe that will be collected from your karka. That's the whole point of the shtar, that it can be collected from the karka, and therefore there's no shvuah here. This is one version of this discussion on this brayse that the Gemara tried to ask a question on this brayse on Abchiyah. There are those that the discussion and the question from this brayse was from the seif of the brayse, from Rabbi Akiva's opinion, and it was a question actually on Rav Sheshes. What did Rabbi Akiva say in the brayse? When the person, again, when the malve is claiming that you owe him 5, and you're admitting that you owe 3, and in the shtar, all it says is sloim, dinrim. So what did Rabbi Akiva say? You potter from a shvuah. You're admitting to more than what the shtar indicates, so then you potter from a shvuah. Because you're returning a lost object. Upater, and therefore you potter. That's what Rabbi Akiva said. So from this, the question is, on Rapsheshes, time edam mashalish. The reason why you potter is because you were made it to 3, so you may show aveda. Hashtayim, but if you were made only to 2, chayev, then you would be chayev. Now, have a hashtar, the kamayde beik, a helach dami. You're being made in 2, and you're being made in what is written here in the shtar. That's the minimum of what's understood from the shtar, and this is halach, as explained before. When you made it to something that's written to a shtar, you're making it available for the malva to collect immediately. He has a shtar that he can go and collect immediately from a karka. Shmami no. So from here we see that Rabbi Akiva says that in such a case you're going to be chayiv in a shvuah. So from here I see halach chayiv, that halach is chayiv in a shvuah, even though you made it to the shtar, which is halach, but according to Rabbi Akiva, you only pot if you made it to 3, you're meishav aveda. But if it's 2, that you would be chayev. So that's a question on Absheshes that says you potter. Says the Gemara, Loi. No, that's not how you have to understand Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Really, Rabbi Akiva's opinion is whether you made it to 3, whether you made it to 2, either way, in this case, you would be potter. The only reason he speaks about the case of 3, he wants to argue with what Rav Shimon ben Elazar said. He said that even when you made it to 3, you'll still be chayiv. Regarding the case of 3, you made them more than what the shtar itself indicates, you're a Meshav Aveda and you'll be potter. So now the Gemara explains, it's logical to say that according to Rabbi Akiva, whether you made it to 3 or you made it to 2, either way, you would be potter of a shvua. Because if you would think to say shtayim chayev, that when you made it to 2, so then you would be chayev. So b'shalosh heichi potter le Rabbi Akiva. When this person is made it to 3, how would Rabbi Akiva say that he should be potter from a shvua? So if that would be the case, hi irumi kamayim. This person, if so, can be dishonest and play a trick as follows. Savar, he'll say to himself, if I'll admit to 2. So then what's going to happen? I'm going to have to swear. I'll have to swear. Let me just admit one more than what the shtar itself indicates, that I have a Kameshav Aveda. Then I'm going to look like this honest person and I'll be a Meshav Aveda. People will say, oh, he's returning more than what the shtar indicates. Ve'ifter, and I'll be potter. So Elo Shmam, it must be Shtayim Nami potter. Whether he admits to 2, whether he admits to 3, either way is going to be potter. Okay, so now which fits basically with what Rav Shesha said, that you'll be potter by 3. Rabbi Akiva says the reason is because you Meshav Aveda, and if you made it to 2, you'll be potter, like the reasoning of Rav Shesha, because when you made it to 2, which is what the shtar indicates, that's equivalent to Halach. The shtar is now here available for the malva to take and collect with it. Says the Gemara, okay, so if this is the pshat and the braisa now, like Rav Sheshes, Elo kasha le Rav Chia. So this becomes a question now what Rav Chia said, that when you made it to 2, which is equivalent to Halach, so why should you be potter from a shvua if Rav Chia says that even in the case of Halach, he's still chayav for the shvua of Meidem and Miktsas? So the Gemara again brings the 2 answers that we said before. Shani Asam, in that case, the reason why when you made it to 2 you potter, either the reason is it's because he has a shtar that's saying exactly like he says that it's only 2, so there's no shvur for this. The whole point of the shtar is that it gives you the right to collect with the lien from the properties, from the piece of land. There's never a shvur when you admit to something which will then give the other person the right to collect from karka. Okay, now the Gemara has another question here on the halacha of Halach. Masiv Mar Zutra. Mar Zutra asked over here from the following brisa, that the brisa says, again, let's say, Masiv Mar Zutra Bereder Rav Nachman. Mar Zutra, the son of Rav Nachman, asked the following question. Now here, this brisa is connected to the halacha that we just learned, that the halacha of a shvua is only regarding movable items. If there's a claim or whether a denial or admitting regarding karka, there's no shvua of Meideh b'miktsas. It's all has to be metaltlin, movable items. So the Mishnah over here says the following: Tani kelim v'karkais. If someone is demanding of you that you owe him movable items, vessels, and karkais, properties, and hoide b'kelim v'kafa b'karkais. Regarding the kelim, you were made that you owe him, but you denied the lands that you owe him. So the entire kfirah, everything that you denied was just karka. Or haide bekarkais v'kafa bekelim. Or in the reverse, you were made in the karka completely, but you were kaifer in the kelim. So in such a case, you're going to be potter. And the reason you're potter is because whether the denial is all just on karka, whether what you're admitting to is all just on karka, either way, there's no shvua of meideh b'miktsas here. Now, however, haide miktsas karka, a karkais potter. If you're going to be meideh just to partially karkais, so this again over here, you're also going to be potter, and the reason is because you have in the claim what was claimed from you, kalim and karkais, and in what you were made there's also karkais that you were made to. Partially you were made to the mixas of the karkais, so you're also going to be potter. Okay, but however, mixas kalim chayiv. If you were made to part of the kalim, then you're going to be chayiv. Because then there's a part of this entire claim here that all revolves just around the kalim. There's a meideh b'miktsas just regarding the kalim. He demanded of you, let's say, 10 kalim, and also karkais. But now you're admitting to 5 of the kalim. So you have a meideh b'miktsas just regarding these vessels. So therefore it's a meideh b'miktsas, even if you take out the karkais of this. So therefore it's going to be chayiv. That's the halacha of this Mishnah. So now the Gemara's medayik as follows. The reason why over here you would be potter, the kalim, the karkais, When you're made to kalim and karkois, the karka lav bashvuhi, because as we said, when you admit to karka, there's no shvuah for this. Now, ho kalim v'kalim. If those karkois would not have been karkois, they would have been kalim. But there would be kalim which are dumya the kalim v'karkois. It would be other vessels that can be compared to karkois. What does that mean? Just like karkois are right here, available for the malva to always collect, if it would be kalim as well that are similar in nature to those karkois, that the kalim are right here on the table, available for the malva to go and collect them right away. Chayiv. Still, you would be chayiv. If the Mishnah says that the only reason for the ptur is because you were made in karka, and by karka the Torah excludes from a shvuah, it's mashma, the exclusion is because it's karka. However, if it would have been kalim, even kalim that are similar in nature to karka, that are right here for him to collect, which is the concept of helach, you would be chayiv in a shvuah. So hey chidami, what's the case here? Lav dama lehelach. Isn't this the concept of helach, where the kalim are right here available for him to collect, and still it's saying that you'd be chayiv in a shvuah? Shema mina helach chayiv. So therefore, from this you see that helach is chayiv in a shvuah. Says the Gemara, Lloyd, there's no right from this Mishnah. The fact that the Mishnah chooses to speak about only kalim and karkois, and therefore you put it from a shvuah, and it doesn't bring the case of kalim and kalim, where you should seemingly also be put from a shvuah, according to Rav Sheshes, if it's similar in nature to the karkois. The reason is, really I can tell you, kalim the kalim, nami potter. If we would be made, if it would be a case of all kalim, and there would be kalim here that are similar in nature to karkois, that they're right here, you would be potter from a shvuah, like Rav Sheshes said. Hi, the Tani, Kalim, the Karkois, when it says in the Mishnah the case that there's Kalim here involved and there's also Karkois, Hakam Ashmalon. This is what this Mishnah is coming to teach. Hi, the B'miktsas Kalim, the last case of the Mishnah, where it says, when you were made it to part of the Kalim, Chayiv, then you're Chayiv to swear. You're not only Chayiv to swear now, as the Maida B'miktsas, on those Kalim that you're still denying, but you're actually Chayiv on everything. Chayiv Afala Karkois. You're Chayiv to swear even on the Karkois, even though usually there's no Shvuah on the Karkois. Here you will be Chayiv to swear on the Karkois. And this is actually similar to the concept of Gilgul Shvuah that we learned in Amar Aleph. Once you're swearing already on the Kalim, there's a proper Maida B'miktsas. Without Karkois, so you also now have to swear on the other part, which are karkois as well. The shvuah, you drag along and you have to swear on the other part of karkois as well. That's what this Mishnah is coming to teach, and that's the reason why it's chose to speak dafka about karkois. But really, by the case, if it would be kalim v'kalim, the halacha of helach, like Rav Sheshes said, would apply, and you would also be potter. So the Gemara asks him this, my kamashmalon. So according to what you're saying, the reason the Mishnah chooses to speak about kalim and karkois, what's the chiddush over here? Zaykikin, the chiddush over here is this halacha that we drag along, that once you chayav to swear on one part of your claim, because it's movable items, it's kalim, so that we drag along and we say that you also have to swear on the karkois. Is that the chiddush over here? Tanina. But that halacha we already learned in a Mishnah in Masechta Kedushin. There the Mishnah says, Zaykikin anachasim she'en lam achrayis, as anachasim she'yesh lam achrayis, l'shava aleim. Once you're swearing on movable items, which are referred to as objects, which you can take no responsibility over them, they don't stay in their place. So then you also have to swear on the karkois, which are called nechasim she'yesh lam achrayis. So this halacha, that once you're swearing on the half of kalim, that you now also will be obligated to swear on the half of karkois, is a halacha that already says in Kiddushin. There's no reason for the Mishnah here to be mechadish this. So the Gemara answers, no hacha ikr. Here, this Mishnah in Shavuos is actually the main place where it discusses the halachas of Shavuos. Here's the main place where it comes to teach this halacha. Hasam, there in Kiddushin, Agav Grada Nosva. Over there, it just brings it up, Derech Agav, when it speaks about the kinyanim of Karkais, it brings up this halacha of Shavuot as well. But really over here, this is the main chiddush of the Mishnah, so therefore we have no question on Rav Sheshes over here on this Mishnah regarding the halacha of Halach.